So today we're going to do the handover video on the Bailey Autograph 7940. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side of the vehicle, if you open up the door, you'll initially see that firstly down here you have the tyre pressures of the vehicle, and then you've also got your Emm-Bee cab blinds. Your Emm-Bee cab blinds, how to operate these, all you've got to do is simply pinch this clip here to release them, and then simply lead from the bottom to then connect onto the side. You'll then notice that you've got one there, and also on the other window as well, which as I say just works by pinching this clip in and taking it all the way through. As I say, I typically find that these work really well when you lead from the bottom, and as a rule of thumb with anything in a motorhome, if it feels like it's being forced, you're probably going to do something wrong. So just take a minute just to look over what you're doing if it does feel like it's stuck or broken. Next, you've also got your bonnet release catch, which is on this side of the vehicle. Undo that. Just to talk you through underneath the bonnet, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here, but it's the main thing that you need to know is if you're ever needing to jump start the vehicle. So I'll lift the bonnet now and indicate where you need to do that. With the bonnet lift, you've then got firstly your negative point, which is onto there, and then your positive is just underneath this cap here, which on the top you've got a plus symbol on there. Lift this up, and then as I say, you've got your positive, which is onto there. Stepping back, just to point out a couple of things for you, you've got your brake disc fluid, which is here, your engine coolant, your power steering fluid, which is this one here, and then your washer fluid, which is just there. Just below here as well, you'll notice that you've got your dipstick in your engine oil, which is just there. As I say, they're the main things that you need to know underneath the bonnet. Moving around the vehicle, you'll notice that you've got your power point, which is onto here. So when you're on site and you're hooking up, put your point onto there for 230 volts. Next to that, you then got your well system. This is how you fill the water tank up with fresh water. To operate this, what you need to do is you've got a pipe. Your pipe will then connect into this out point here. Your pipe will then connect to a tap, which will be on site. You'll turn the tap on. You'll then go into the van, and on the control panel, which will show you once we're on the inside, simply click fill. What that's going to do is it's going to activate the pump in the vehicle, therefore sucking the water from the tap into the vehicle and filling up the system. And once that's full, it'll indicate that on the vehicle's control panel. Once you've done that, obviously unhook it, and then you fill up with water, and you can move on to your pitch. Moving across, you've then got your toilet cassette, which is here. Unhook and unlock just by pushing these buttons in and removing it. Once removed and opened, you'll notice that this is your cassette. So, to remove this, what you need to do, pull up on this lever and simply slide out. When sliding out this is the main thing to know is to, and always check, is that the blade on the toilet is closed. If you do come to slide this out and it feels like it's getting jammed, chances are you've not opened that blade, so just make sure that you always do that before sliding out. Once unclipped and slid out, you'll notice that you've got, firstly, this point here. So when it comes to empty this tank, simply slide out this lever here, or this tap rather, unscrew the cap on it, and then all you need to do is simply using this orange button at the back, click that in, that releases the vacuum in the tank, and then you can remove all the contents and simply wash them out. That's going to allow the entire tank to come out in one steady slurry rather than coming out in glugs. As I say, make sure that you click that button just to release that vacuum so it can do that. On the back as well, you'll also notice that you've got another orange nib here. All that is that makes contact with the blades. That blade that I mentioned earlier makes contact with that and opens and closes the cassette. You always obviously need to make sure that it's in that position when removing it and also inserting it back in. Other than that, just don't do anything with it. As I say, simply slide that back in to lock it in. Slide that like that, and then you're away. In regards to keeping on top of this, you can put blue fluid into here, or if you have toilet sachets, they can go straight down into the toilet, obviously with the cassette toilet open. That leads me on back onto the blade, which I'll touch more on the inside. After using the toilet, you need to make sure that the blade's always closed to one, stop any nasty odours from escaping, and also it gets you in the habit of always closing it, so when you come to remove this and you come to remove it out, you know that it's closed. Coming back from the cassette toilet, moving on, you then got your Alde flue. This in essence is the chimney for the vehicle, so obviously don't hang anything on here because it does get very hot, so just be careful of that. Underneath this area you'll notice that you've got a grey pipe which is just there, and what that does is it drains your wastewater tank. So at the moment it's closed, all you need to do is simply turn this valve here, that handle, turn that, and that'll empty the wastewater. You've got three main drain down points which you need to know about on a vehicle. You've got your wastewater, which is here. You've then got your fresh water, which is on the inside of the vehicle, and then also your boiler drain down point, which again is on the inside of the vehicle. They're really important. You need to make sure that they're always drained down when moving off site, because you don't want frozen water in your system, and also obviously when you're storing the vehicle. So as I say, your wastewater is external to the vehicle. You need to make sure that you open that. In regards to your drain down points, I'm going to mention this now. You can leave them all open, so when you're travelling, the vibration of the road is obviously going to make sure that all the water gets out, because at the end of the day it is just water, and there's no harmful chemicals in it, so you can just leave that open. Okie dokie, moving on, you've then got your storage area, which is in the back here. That's fully heated and insulated. Just quickly with these locks, at the moment these are open, so when the red tabs and bands are exposed, you can then simply turn these, and then that allows you to open the storage locker door, just like that. Moving on to the back, not much to the back, but you'll notice that you've got your reversing camera, which is just up at the top there. Moving around, you can see that you've got full length awning. In regards to your awning, only use it, I mean, on a day like today, it's perfect conditions really for using an awning. There's no wind and it's not raining. Typically, if there is quite a bit of wind, what we advise is not to use it, because as you can imagine, it's like a massive sail on the side of your vehicle. You can get storm straps, but as I say, we don't really recommend it, because the last thing you want is a bit of wind to go underneath it and to take it over, potentially damaging your vehicle and also others. So just be careful. To operate this, simply you've got a winder on the other side. That winder connects into the awning and simply wind it out. You've then got some legs on the inside. They drop down, undo the clip to take the weight of the awning, and then simply walk it out. So angle the legs, wind it out a bit, angle the legs, wind it out a bit, and it's the exact same for taking it in as well. So dead simple. As I mentioned, you've got another storage point onto here. And then just coming over to the other side, just to point out a couple of things, you've got your fridge vents, which are here. One thing to know with the fridge is the fridge does a very good job at maintaining temperature, but doesn't do the best of jobs of getting it down to temperature. It's not like a domestic fridge. So what we say is, as you can imagine, this is where the fridge is pulling all of its air from and then cooling it to cool the contents of the fridge. So if the sun's beating down on this fan, try and turn the vehicle round. Just obviously, just be wary that that's where it pulls obviously the air from. It's also noted that you need to make sure that the fridge, that your vehicle is level in order for the fridge to work. You've then coming down here, got your gas point, which is external to the vehicle, and then next to that a socket, which is 230 volt, which is there. Finally, on this side of the vehicle, you've then got your LPG gas. In here, you'll have something called a pigtail and a gas regulator. Your pigtail will connect to your gas regulator, and through the pigtail that can then connect to your gas bottles. Obviously make sure that the gas is turned off at the bottle when travelling. It's key that you need to do that. So that concludes the outside of the vehicle. We're now going to move on to the inside. Moving on to the inside, firstly, just walking through your habitation door, you've got your control panel, which is at the top here. You'll notice that you've got two controls. You've got one which is for your Alde heating system, which controls all your heating. So that's that. And then here is for your water pump, water levels and things like that, which I'm going to talk you through now. So firstly, click the power button to turn the master on. The master is obviously the master switch that activates everything. You'll notice that that's turned the lights on and everything in the vehicle. Before I scroll through the settings, you'll notice that on this side you've got your pump, which if I click that, it's on at the moment. If I turn that off, It activates your pump. So obviously make sure that you always have that off if you don't have water in the vehicle, because what you'll do is you'll just simply burn out the pump if it's on without any water. So just bear that in mind. Quickly on your pump, before I move on to the other controls, is when you're on site, what you'll do is, as I mentioned outside, you'll click your pump on to feed the water through to fill up your tank. You'll then go to each of your taps, including your shower, turn them on and turn them to hot. What that's going to do, it's going to pull water from the freshwater tank through the boiler system when you've got it on hot. So priming your boiler and then priming it through the actual tap. So it's going to come through the pipeline, just as you would at home. So initially it's going to spurt and splutter, and once it's running steadily, you've done it, you know. So that's you've primed your system. And as I say, you need to do that for your taps and also your shower. Once you've done that on hot, flick it over to cool, do the exact same. It'll spurt and splutter initially, and then it'll prime the system once it's running steadily, and then you've done it. So dead simple. It's worth mentioning as well, you can leave the pump on once you've done that, because each of your taps are on something called an isolation switch, so it'll only activate the pump when you need it, just like you would get in your house. Next to the pump, you've also got lights, which is individual. So that's your internal lights here. And then you've got a door light, which is there, which you can press on, which is the lights on the outside. So just going through the options here, you've obviously got your time. And I scroll through, you've then got your waste level for your wastewater, which at the moment, I've not got that much in. This is what I was mentioning in regards to fill internal tank. So this is for your fresh water. So once you've got your wheel system all hooked up, you'll click this button here to activate it, and then it'll allow you to fill the system. You've then got your external temperature. You then got the user settings. You then got internal temperature. Your battery select. With your battery select, make sure it's kept on leisure. Make sure you don't flick it over to vehicle battery, because what that's going to do, it's going to, all your lights and everything's going to feed off your vehicle battery, which obviously if you are doing, you're going to end up with a flat vehicle battery, so make sure you keep it on leisure. You've then got obviously your battery amps, and then voltage as well, just like so. And then you're back to the beginning. Just through the settings as well. So in all fairness, there's not many things that you need to know through here. So it just gives you your contrast, sound, you know, battery, water, low, and things like that. So you can just play around with it, just like so. So that's your control panel. That's the basis of it. Moving across, as I say, you've then got your Alde heating system, which is on here, which you can control. This will control your hot water and also your heating for the vehicle. So if I click this button, it's going to turn the Alde heating system on. Once that's on, all you got to do, click menu. I've got gloves on, so it's not going to work, but this is a touchscreen panel. You'll notice that at the top, you've got your temperature for the heating in the vehicle. You've then got below that your water, which, you know, using that plus or minus, you can change the temperature as well. And then below that, you've then got your fuel, which you can select. So you can either have this on. Let's see whether it works with my gloves. I don't think it's going to. Oh, there we are. 1 kilowatt electric, 2 kilowatt electric. So there are your options with it. Depending on, obviously, your power supply to the vehicle, depending on the campsite. So you can either run it off, as I say, electric, or just below that, you'll notice that you've got your gas button there, which you can run it off gas if you're wild camping, just like so. Now, what typically will happen is you'll try and run it off a fuel that you haven't got. So you'll, let's for example, if you're not on site and you've select 1 kilowatt electric to power the vehicle from, it's obviously going to throw up an error code. If that is the case, you need to go into your settings, which is just here, and then reset the panel, just like that. But it's a really easy system to use. Just to turn that off, all you're going to do is hold that in, and then it'll turn off, just like that. Just quickly before I move on to the vehicle, onto the rest of the vehicle rather, you've got your TV, which is in here. You'll then notice that you've got an aerial, which is on here. All you need to do, can you see that cap, which is up here? Simply unscrew that, and then you can push this pole up and then screw it into place. You can then turn it, and you've got a little arm on the bottom of this where you can tilt the head of the aerial, depending on obviously signal and things like that. Just make sure once you've done that, you also click this button, which is on the top here. Click it on, blue light indicates when it's on. Obviously it's not going to work if it's not on, so just make sure that it is. I'm going to turn that off for now. Still remaining in the lounge, just on the other side, you'll notice that underneath this locker you've got your solar panel regulator, which is just there. Your solar panel in essence will feed the leisure battery, keep it topped up. Just make sure in regards to that you don't need to obviously do anything with it. This is the solar panel regulator, so this basically does everything for you. Just make sure that it's getting charged and that it doesn't overcharge it. As I say, you don't need to do anything with the leisure battery, so just leave it as it is. Moving back into the lounge, you've also got a panel here which, lifting up, you've got your table, and then also to create this area into a bed you've got a slide out point here which will simply slide out like so. You've got another one here which will slide out, and then this area can then turn into a bed. Moving on from the lounge, we've briefly touched obviously about your priming the system. In regards to your kitchen, you've got your hob which is here. You've got 1 electric and then 3 gas. Then underneath there you've got your oven and grill, which work the exact same as what you get in your house. Just push it in and then to ignite it, and then it'll begin. On this side as well, you'll notice that you've got like looks like a radiator. That's just for your Alde heating system, so that's just to radiate the van. That's the vehicle's temperature, and space heater, so that's where it comes from. Underneath here you'll also notice that you've got a hatch in the floor. So all that is that's for your fresh water tank. That's how you access it. As I mentioned, you've got your wastewater, which is on external to the vehicle. Your next 2 drain down points is your fresh water, which is here, and then your boiler drain down point, which is in the back, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift this area up and I'm going to show you how to drain down this system. Once I've lifted the hatch and removed this cap, you'll notice that this is your water tank. You can see into it. We've currently got a bit of water in there. You'll notice that you've got like a silver chain which is running through there. What that is it's a plug. It's a link to a plug. What you need to do is put your hand in there, pull the plug out, and that's going to empty the whole system. Now, when draining this down, as I say, with the wastewater, you can leave it all open when travelling, because the vibrations of the road are going to make sure that it comes out. And it's just as simple as that. Stick your hand in there, pull that plug out, and then everything's going to empty. Moving up from there, you've then got your fridge and your microwave. Your microwave will only work off 230 volts, so when you're plugged in, so just bear that in mind. You've then got, obviously, as I say, your fridge. Your fridge is a 3-way fridge, so there's 3 ways to power it. At the moment, it's off. You've then got electric, your leisure battery, which is 12 volt, and then your gas. So when you're going to be using each one. So firstly, electric is obviously when you're on site and you're plugged in, you're going to flick it on electric to power the fridge. If you're wild camping, you're going to flick it on gas, which is down here. So you're going to flick it all the way down to gas. And then when you're travelling, you're going to flick it onto your 12 volt leisure battery. Now, a lot of people think when they're wild camping, they can simply run the fridge off the leisure battery, which is here. That won't work. The reason being is it draws too much power. If it drew, simply off the leisure battery, it just trip your vehicle. It just wouldn't work. So when you're wild camping, strictly on your gas, and then when you're travelling, you can have it on your leisure battery, because you've got a built-in alternator with this vehicle, which will charge your leisure battery as the vehicle battery is running. On here, you've also got your, as I say, your temperature gauge here, and then on this side, an igniter switch if you're running off gas. Moving into your bathroom area. The main thing, as I say, we've talked about priming your system for your shower and your taps. The main thing that you need to know in here, which I mentioned on the outside of the vehicle, is your blade on the toilet. So when I mention that, that's what this is here. So this silver blade is, as I say, that blade which allows the cassette to open and close. So at the moment, it's closed. If I was to look into the cassette, you won't be able to see into it. You just see a plastic panel. To open it, simply push away from you, and that'll open it. And when if you was to open this up, you'll be able to see directly into the cassette. As I say, outside, when using it, open it up so all the waste can drop into the cassette, and then you'll then got your flush, which is on here. So click that blue button, which activates your flush. Then flush the system, and then once you've done that, shut the blade, which is just there to stop any nasty odours from escaping. As I mentioned, your flush is just up here, which is on this blue button. It's worth mentioning that you need your pump on for that to work. And when this is full as well, your cassette, you'll get a red light on here, which indicates that you need to empty it. Moving into the bedroom area, firstly, you'll notice I've just removed this hatch here. You've got another bit of storage in here, and then also another hatch which is further down, which allows you to access your wastewater tank. In regards to this, you can simply just remove that. It doesn't allow you to, as I say, because your wastewater drain down point is external. The only purpose for this is just if you want to clean it out. Running into the rear of the vehicle, you've got your expansion tank, which is here in one of your lockers. With your expansion tank, you'll notice this is where you can actually fill it up from in regards to your glycol solution, which is an antifreeze solution, which basically stops it from being from freezing in the system. You don't need to do anything with that. That'll be sorted on service for you, and it's all been sorted in PDI, but it's just so you know. You've got some hanging space as well, which is just up there. You then got obviously your two beds here. I've got your carpets on the bed at the moment, and then also some storage in here, and also above, and then two cabinets there. Lifting up the left-hand side of the bed, you'll notice that you've got some storage, which is in there and also there. But you'll also notice another hatch. Underneath there is located your boiler, and this is which brings me on to your final drain down point, which is your boiler drain down point. So to drain down your boiler, I'm going to remove this hatch for you and indicate what you need to do. Once the hatch is removed, you'll be able to see your boiler. Looks very complicated, but the only thing that you need to do is to press that little yellow toggle down. So you can see it's like a little switch, that yellow toggle. At the moment it's in the up position, which allows it to drain down the system. However, you can simply flick that down to close it. Obviously, when you're draining down the tank and everything, make sure that you flick that up as it is now. But then when you are keeping all the all the water in the vehicle, so you're wanting to use it and prime your system, you also need to make sure that that is closed, because if it's not, it'll simply just drain out this vehicle. And that's located, as I say, underneath your left hand side bed, just underneath that hatch, and that is the only thing that you need to know for the boiler. Just to lift up on the right hand side, just to show you what you've got underneath here, it looks very similar with another hatch underneath there, but this is all for storage. You haven't got another boiler underneath there or anything, you can just simply use that for storage. Just to drop this down, I'm going to just quickly show you before we finish up your windows. Obviously on all your windows you've got your blinds and also your fly screens which clip in there. To open these windows up, all you need to do is unhook these here, just like so, and then you can see it frees up the window. All you need to do to lock it into place, push it out, and then using these black knobs here on either side, simply tighten them in to position, and that allows the window obviously to stay out. You can have these on venting, so you'll notice that there's another clip into there just to allow a little bit of airflow, but obviously make sure that these are all closed when travelling, and it's the same thing in regards to your aerial. Make sure that that aerial is down when travelling, because you don't want to be hitting anything. So that concludes the handover video on the Bailey 794T. I hope you enjoyed.